Hey everyone, good morning, good morning. My name is Emily Yanez, and today we're going to jump right in and get into the meat of the morning. Our format today is going to be a little different than it has been this week, but I'm really hoping to leave you guys with just some new and exciting ideas after spending time to really think and contemplate some subjects a little more deeply than maybe we allow ourselves to. And we're going to do a couple exercises that require you to really think about things with an open heart and really put things to paper. So make sure you do have a pen and paper. We'll need them several times today. So you have time, go get them now. You need them, you need them. And kind of like I was mentioning before I hit record, it's the second to last week before this Awaken series comes to a close. And I know week one, the energy was crazy. So many of you guys were just so pumped and momentum was so high. And, would you guys kind of agree that maybe the fire is dimming a little? And if not for you, maybe you just notice that with people around you. Our accountability chat's getting a little quiet. It's all right. Blink at me. It's a safe space. No? All right, good. But, if you're someone who's maybe feeling a little stuck right now within your business, it's really due to lack of momentum. So you probably have no momentum forward, no momentum backward. You are stationary, and kind of the problem is we tend to get caught between the tension of knowing that we no longer want to be stuck where we're at, yet we have no idea what's pushing us and driving us forward. And, some of you may know very specifically what you want out of coaching and you want it really, really bad. But the fear of taking a step forward into the unknown always outweighs the fear of remaining miserable, because at least that's familiar, right? We get so comfortable in the familiar, but that is literally purgatory. It's such a hard place to be stuck. And, there are others of you where you might feel stuck because this is the first time in your life that you're actually recognizing that you actually do have a desire for something more than what you've been doing. You're tired of doing just what you're supposed to do. And now you want to explore what coaching could really bring into your life if only you could take it seriously and make it a priority. So there is a way out of this stuckness. And it's really about finding your why, which is the magical thing we're going to be talking about today. So I want to stop right here. And we're going to take 3 minutes, which is actually a long time. When I said the timer, 3 minutes is going to feel like forever. And we're going to write down our current whys. Okay, so what is your reason for coaching? Get your paper and pen, and I will start the timer right now. Okay, we have 1 more minute. If you hopped on late and you're wondering why we're sitting in silence, please look at the chat. 1 more minute. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay, and don't worry, we're gonna refine this, okay? So if you're like, oh my gosh, she didn't even give me any prompts or ideas, it's okay. That's the point. I promise. It's like this for a reason. Okay, excellent. So what is your why? So your why, I think of it more like a mission statement. It's really a statement of purpose that helps to describe why you do the work you do and why you live the lifestyle you live. Your why should be your calling, your conviction, your mission statement. It's the vision of your life and work. It's really the core source of your motivation. It's the reference point for all decisions and actions that you take and make. It defines who you are and what makes you productive, basically what makes you tick. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious or unfulfilled in your business, it's because you likely don't have a clear understanding of your why. And you're probably, like most people were before they really got really clear on their why, a lot of us were just kind of working to live up to somebody else's why in the absence of our own. And that's why things aren't really clicking. So, you know, we go to events, we hear everyone else's why. Oh, my why is this, my why is this. And I think, not that it's out of laziness, but I think a lot of us don't take the time to really dig deep. And it's like, oh, that sounds good. Yeah, that's mine too. But in the long run, certain things aren't going to, if they don't make you tick, it's not going to make you do things on the days where you don't want to do anything. And so that could be a reason for you why things aren't clicking, because really you're out of alignment with your own unique purpose that we all have. We all have our very own special, unique reason and purpose. And so it's figuring that out, you know? And so there are a ton of different, like whatever, side hustles, jobs, opportunities available to you guys. Why did you choose coaching? You know, you might, I'll tell you kind of like the top things that I hear when I'm doing a coach meet and greet. And I'm like, why coaching? And these are some of the things that I hear. Oh, you know, I started coaching because I just want to help people. You know, I don't care about the money. Okay. You know, I chose coaching for the accountability, but I have a full-time job. So I'm just doing this for the accountability. Okay. Right. I wanted to coach for the community. I love spending time with other coaches. Cool. I like that too. People say, you know, I thought it was an opportunity that paid well and could offer me financial security. Wonderful. Or often I'll hear people say, you know, I just wanted kind of a side hustle to have fun money so that my family and I can have money to play around with. All fine and dandy, but these are examples of reasons for your decision to coach, but they aren't your why. They're the reason why you decided to coach, but it's not your deep down why. And they're all perfectly valid reasons, but they are not what's going to push you when the going gets rough. And that why has to come from within you. And if it feels, it's a feeling really that compels you to do the work that you need to do, even if it requires a short-term sacrifice. And there's a lot of people that aren't willing to sacrifice, especially when they don't know what the heck they're sacrificing for, right? We will struggle with thoughts of self-doubt. You may not make much money right away. You know, your loved ones may not support your decision. And you'll probably also fail many times before you experience success. And so these are all things that people could see as stumbling blocks, and it's very easy to run because it feels uncomfortable and not good. But regardless of what those sacrifices are, you will still feel driven to pursue the work you really want to do because it gives you meaning. Okay. So your why has to be so deep and so personal that you can't imagine doing anything else because of what coaching affords you. And people ask me that all the time. Do you ever think you go back to therapy? Do you ever think come on, someday you'll want to do that, right? And I'm just like, no, like, I really cannot. Like, when I think about what would I do if I didn't have coaching, it freaks me out because that's how much I'm attached to coaching. I'm like, I don't know, because I wouldn't even want to go back to my old career. So you have to be so attached that the thought of coaching being gone makes you go, ooh, no, I can't imagine anything else. Okay. And that's your why. That's your for real why. So your why is going to provide the stability and direction in the chaos of life. It makes you grow by giving you courage and resilience to endure tough challenges, which you will face. And, we don't need to be afraid of money. Money's the result of our work, but it's really our why that fuels our work. And so your why is your driving force behind why you even want to redesign your life. And I truly believe that everyone's why is hidden, and it's hidden in different places, and we have to uncover it in different ways. So today, this is what I'm most excited about. You guys are going to hear from 5 different people who have had success because they've been so connected to their whys, and their whys were so big and so powerful that they kind of had no choice but to keep growing, and they have. So first up, I want to hear from Diana Schofield. She's an integrated executive director, and she's going to share with us this morning. Diana.
Good morning, you guys. How's everyone doing? My name is Diana, and I've been coaching for about 1.5 years now. It has been so much fun, but also messy, ugly. And so I want to talk about the mess and the ugliness because we don't oftentimes focus on that, like Emily was saying. And I assure you that before you get the pretty, there's ugliness there. I do not wake up looking like this. It takes some work. And so I wanted to share that with you guys because it's helpful to just see that you can do it too. And if I'm here and I've done it and I've gotten where I am, that you can do it too. So I started just like everybody else with a weight loss story, looking at this as a side hustle. And then I quickly realized that there's a lot more to this than what I saw initially. And let me tell you, I was the client that started off with no books. I was literally eating the food and losing the weight. I had no idea what this whole thing was. And I still decided that there was something there. Something sparked my soul. Something sparked my interest, my desire. It brought me hope. It brought me light. So I was like, I have to give that to other people. And that kind of started as my why. I was like, I really love this. I don't know what it is, but I really like it. So I'm gonna go through with this. And when I started, I had 5 jobs, literally 5 jobs. I'm kind of a workaholic, 4 kids, husband, you name it, I had it. So I was finding time wherever I could. I was calling in between patients. I was calling in between jobs while I was breastfeeding, while I was literally wherever I could, I was finding the time. Does that mean that I was successful right away? No, no, I missed my cap bonus. I had no idea what it meant at the time. But I kept going and I kept going. And first I didn't know why. Like people were like, well, what is your why? I don't know. I just kind of like it. Well, why are you here? And so I really started digging deep, and it didn't hit me in the face until I was diagnosed with COVID in December. I had already hit ED. I had already gone through all the motions. I had no idea what that even meant. I was just like, I know that ED is cool. So I guess I'm part of the cool crowd now. And then COVID came in December. And it really, really forced me to self-reflect, because for the first time ever, I was left with nothing. I couldn't work. I had to quarantine from my own family. I had to protect my kids from myself, which was devastating because I have always been that rock for everyone. I am the protector. I am the strong person in my family. And for me to have to quarantine from my kids was the hardest thing ever. And for me to have to go through that and have a job that was demanding that I come back, demanding that I be there, they're like, well, we'll just have you work with COVID patients. I mean, you have COVID, they have COVID. What's the worst that could happen? And I made a decision that I was going to seek this through. I was going to do whatever it took, because that's not the kind of relationship that I wanted to have with my employer. That's not who I wanted to be. I didn't want to give my time to other people anymore for nothing. And so I really started to focus on that and really dig deep. And in between all of this, you guys, there has been many ups, many downs. Lots of struggles. And what I realized is that my biggest reason, my biggest why is wanting to provide for my kids. I have two boys, they're 3 and 2, and I have 2 older kids by marriage. They're 16 and 15, and our 15-year-old is in a wheelchair. He has a disability, and his diagnosis, unfortunately, is terminal. So we don't know how much time we have left with him. And that has been a big driving force for us to do the things that we do, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And as I dig deeper, I realized that I want to be the parent that I didn't have. So that is important to me. So despite all the obstacles, despite all the things that I've gone through, I think that I don't ever, believe me, my team knows, there's a lot of times when I call and I'm just crying and I'm a mess, and I'm just like, I don't know. And they're there, and they pick me up, and then I go back to my why, and it's what drives me. It's what keeps me going, no matter what. So, sorry guys, I was trying not to give you the ugly. Speaking of the ugly, here it is. As we speak, as I'm sitting here, my life is a little bit messy. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm at Starbucks because being at home is not the best place right now, but I'm not quitting. I am here and I'm pushing because I see what it's going to do for my family, for my boys, and I want to be the parent that I didn't have for them. So I hope that helps you guys a little bit. Sorry about the ugly tears.
Oh, come on. This girl tried. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you for pushing through. And, you know, again, obstacles, right? She could be like, oh, I'm at Starbucks. It's too loud. I can't do it. But she's here. And we're really grateful for you. So thank you so much. Next up, I want to hear from Joy Avini, Global Director.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Diana. That's not ugly. That's beautiful. That's your why. And that is what is going to move mountains. Excuse me. So I'm actually going to take you back. I can't believe I'm going to say this, 5 years ago, this November, Thanksgiving Day. I remember what I was wearing. I remember exactly how I felt. I was at Justin's house, Justin Avini, my nephew, and I was in his kitchen. And all the families were together and they were hanging out and laughing. And I was standing there. And I remember I had this like cold shoulder blouse on. I had jeans on that were too tight. And I was mentally and physically in a very dark place. And I looked at Justin and I said, you know what? I need to feel better. Just send me that thing. And I was very flippant about it. I just was, I couldn't connect to anything. I just wanted to feel better. And he said, well, Joy, I also think you should coach. And I said, yeah, whatever, send it all. So didn't think much about it. It comes, this huge box comes, it's sitting in my bedroom and I'm traveling. I was in my career. And one day I thought, okay, I might as well start, right? So I went on program. 6 weeks later, I felt amazing. But I wasn't in that place like, okay, I'm amazing, I want to share. I was like, okay, this feels good. Great, I'm, feeling good, but I'm still very busy. I'm in a relationship that's not very happy. So I lost myself in my career and my twins. So once I started feeling a little bit better, I was at a show. I had partnered with a friend, Lisa. We opened a showroom downtown. We launched our own clothing line just to get away from corporate America and do our own thing. And so I was very apprehensive to talk about it because I didn't want her to think I wasn't committed to what our mission was, growing this line, this company. Excuse me. So, excuse me, water. Excuse me. So she looked at me and said, you know what, I want to do that thing, right? Because I wasn't really talking about it. I just had my feelings. I said, okay, great. So she did the program and I started sharing, but I came from a very private community. I wasn't on social media. I had no reason to be on social media, guys. So I want you to remember that as I tell my story. I had no audience. I had no following. I was very private. I came from a private community. My friends did not want to hear about the program. I wasn't able to set up maybe one practice call. So it wasn't out, right out the gate. Okay. So I was still plugging along. And then one day, Lisa looked at me and said, Joy, I'm going to close the showroom. I wasn't in a place to financially take over. And I said, okay, well, I have two decisions here, right? I can go back to work full time, or I can take this coaching business and maybe I can build something. So now I'm like, what if? I started dreaming. What if I can stay home, build a home-based business, and maybe I can create something where I can leave my relationship and support my family and be home with them as we heal. So I started dreaming, and that day I made a decision. So it took me a couple months to hit senior coach. I did it through March Madness. That was amazing. That gave me the heart for this business, those stories. So I hit senior coach at the end of March Madness, and then I lost senior coach. And then maybe 8-9 months later, I hit ED. But the reason I share that is when you have a why that you're committed to. So I sat down with my children and I said, Mom's made a decision. I'm going to build a business from home so I can be present for the two of you. That was it. That's all I shared. But I made myself accountable, right? Like the 5 and 1. Make yourself accountable. Share it with someone. We made a dream board. You know what else I did? I started saving every penny. I went on a budget. I drove an 18-year-old $3,000 car. I got my hair cut at Fantastic Sam's. I didn't get manicures or pedicures. I have a Mr. Coffee Pot because my why was so strong. It drove my decisions. In the morning, I worked before my kiddos woke up. I took them to school. I volunteered at school. Then I took care of them. And at night before bed, I worked. I got about probably 8 hours a day in because it was my focus. I didn't go out to dinner. Of course, I wasn't in the health. I'll be honest, I wasn't in the healthiest relationship. So at night, I just closed up and I worked on my business. But what happened from that is 2 years later, I was in a position to make a move. I financed everything. And during COVID, right before we went into lockdown, we closed escrow on our house. So I moved twice during COVID with my twins. As you know, my brother got sick and we lost him, but because of this business, Justin and I, we went and stayed with him. I didn't have to tell my boss or ask for time off. And then now, Alex, the father of my children, we co-parent beautifully. You know why? Because I lost myself in our personal development. I didn't have the money to get therapy, guys. Every book they recommended, every YouTube, every podcast, again, every event I qualified for, I went to. I was on every training. If I was away, if I was on vacation, guess what? The kids knew how important it was. I was on my training and then I would start my day. I made a commitment to myself that I wouldn't miss a training. I wouldn't go to bed that night unless I watched a training. And I tried to watch them in real time because it was so impactful. So I want you to know I'm sitting here now in my home. Alex is on his way. We're going to the orthodontist for braces for my son. We get along so beautifully because of all the work, the financials, the mental, everything that Optavia afforded us. I can't even explain the power of that. So Find that why. Believe that if you think it's not possible, I am here to tell you it's not going, like Emily said, it doesn't happen overnight. You're going to hear those stories, right? Oh, IPD in 18 months, global in 8 months. You know what, guys? I'm glad it took me a long time. I really am, because I feel like I'm that person that our mantra is, if you just don't stop, be coachable and ask your team, your mentorship team, what's next. Anything is possible, guys. Please hear that from my heart. Perfect. That's the first time. Thank you for letting me share, guys.
Dang, fire in content, fire with timing, Joy. Thank you so much. I think this is why I love Joy's story. Well, not only is it similar to mine, but I think sometimes we have these big, grandiose ideas of what coaching could bring us. And sometimes, honestly, it brings us through hell first to see what needs to change in order to create the life that we really deserve. And it's usually unexpected. And it's usually not anything you would have imagined or dreamed of. It's better. But you have to seriously walk through the flames to get to the other side, to be able to look back. I mean, there's no way that Joy 5 years ago would be like, oh, great, so coaching's gonna basically end my marriage. And no, right? But that's life. And life is not what we think it's gonna be usually. But sometimes it can even be better. And we just don't know what's on the other side. So thank you so much, Joy. We love you so much. And next up, we got Joey Gonzalez, Executive Director. Could you come off mute and share with us for a bit?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. So yeah, definitely. Man, Emily, thank you for the beginning introduction, because I mean, you really touched on a lot of great points of kind of where I was in my business, and what I know a lot of individuals are going through right now, as far as like trying to figure out what that why is, and trying to take bits and pieces from somebody else. When you connect with other coaches and you're kind of like, yeah, that sounds good. You know what? Because honestly, in the very beginning of my business, when I met with Jamil, I knew I wanted something different. I knew I wanted, better health, better finances. And when I met with him, it was kind of like, let's get on program. Let's, you're probably going to coach right away. Within 2 weeks, I was already ordering my coaching kit. But I knew that going in, and I wanted to do that. However, I was still trying to figure out, like that why, that deep why, right? The initial why was kind of like, I was just tired of just going through the motions. I was tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I was tired of just being, just in a funk, in a cloud, and just kind of, saying that, and then there's got to be more than my current situation. I lost weight pretty good, pretty quick, felt great, moved forward to coaching. And then with coaching, it just like, some of us in the very beginning, it just happens, right? And it gets all exciting, and you're moving forward. But if you don't have a strong why, this business humbles you very quickly. And it kind of almost hit a roadblock. And if you don't have that strong why to push you through that roadblock, we start backpedaling, we start guessing, we start, self-doubt. We start comparing ourselves to other coaches and what they're doing. And we start losing the focus on what we are doing, or should I say what we're not doing in this business. And last year of COVID, when I should have taken a full advantage of the opportunity of gyms closing and people, mentally needing help, I literally started, second guessing myself whether or not I wanted to do this. I mean, I literally was ghosting Jamil for a minute, and our little group. And, my business went from almost hitting ED to literally barely hitting the senior coach. And it wasn't until towards the end of COVID that, my kids became that stronger why for me. And that was because they started asking me like, you know, hey dad, when are we going to be able to do this? When are you going to stop working? When are you going to, you know, when are we going to be able to, you know, they have bigger dreams than I did. Right. And that's what I love about kids. You have to dream with your kids, because if your dreams aren't big, they will expand your dreams, because they don't understand so much of the value and the price tag of certain things. They just, I want this, I want that, you know, why can't we have this? Well, I want this big house. I can't wait till I get my own room, things like that. So it was really towards the, you know, end of last year that one, you know, it was my kids that drove me to that bigger why, because, you know, I had to look at my current reality. I had to be honest with myself and say, I mean, what's the alternative? Go back to where I was, go back to the place that I never wanted to be, you know? So if you're in that funk, if you're in that block and you haven't really given it like 100%, like every single day, day in, day out, just do it. Just try it. Like we tell our clients, just give me 30 days of like all in. And if it doesn't work out, then okay. But I can guarantee you that if you do it and go all in, like it does work out. And like Emily said, it works out better than you could imagine. And now, you know, now it's just that driving every single day. Then it becomes just a habit, and that habit becomes who you are. It's no more of I have to do this. It just becomes of this is what I do, right? And that's what it has to be. Is every single day is just moving forward. And my kids sparked that why for me, and dreaming with them and wanting bigger with them. But now, honestly, like I've ran into certain people that have told me how much like my post or my inspiration or whatever has changed them. A few months ago, 2 months ago, I had an ex-coworker that literally checked himself into the hospital, fear of committing suicide. And, you know, he said that the day I reached out to him, a random reach out, starting conversations, was literally the day he like checked himself in, but he felt better. And I still check in with him every single week on how he's doing. And now my why is kind of almost fearful that if I take a day off, it might be the day somebody needs me the most, that somebody's counting on my post, that somebody's counting on my inspiration, somebody's counting on me to connect with them, because they're not the only ones that, you know, are feeling this way. So, you know, you got to make it personal. And I know Emily said that earlier, is your why has to be personal. Just like the reason why you got on program and wanted to lose weight, you got to do it for you. And you got to just carry that same reason inside the business of getting into fat burn in your business, going all in, doing what's necessary, just like we did on program. It was easy. They told us what to do and we did it. And then somewhere along the way, we get into the coaching business and we are like, well, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. We are. If you get on these boot camps, if you get on the trainings, if you get on, you know, if you do your power hours, they're telling us what to do. But sometimes we're like, well, I don't know what to do. You know, it starts with getting on these trainings. It starts with being consistent, and then that's going to continue to drive. But, you know, hey, make it personal. It's got to be personal. You know, it's got to be personal. So back to you guys. Love you guys. Have a great weekend, and get what you can out of this training today.
I love it. Thank you so much, Joey. I think, I mean, so many amazing points. And I think one of the biggest ones that stands out for me is, you know, our kids are such good examples of, we all were like that. We all used to dream. There was a time when all of us dreamed easily. It was just part of our day. I used to be in my head imagining and dreaming. I mean, I could have told you what I wanted to do when I grew up. Where I wanted to live, what kind of car. I mean, I had it all figured out. And then it just stops. At least for me, it was, what's the point? What's the point of thinking of all these cool things I'm never going to have? What's the point of imagining this life that I'm probably never going to have? And so it was a way to stop disappointment, and just be like, this is life. I'm a realist. But that meant I wasn't a dreamer anymore. And yeah, I mean, I always say, and that's why I always say, wake up, dream big, because coaching got my mind working again like it used to, in a childlike way, where I started to think, gosh, I think stuff is possible. I think I could have that. I think I could. And it made it safe enough to start having those dreams again without worrying that they were just going to be crushed anyways. And then you start having these little wins and dreaming a little bit bigger. And so us as big grown-ups that think we know everything, we need to really take the example from our kiddos or kiddos in the world, if you don't have your own, but just watching that childlike wonder and dreaming that we've lost, and really connecting with that again. Because to me, that's really living. To be able to dream, like, that's living, like to feel like it's safe enough to dream. And that's what I always hope that our coaching community can provide for people, is a safe space to start baby dreaming, and then a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Because that's what it's about, that's really what it's about. When people say like, oh, you're an inspiration, your post inspired me, it's because we're modeling that for people. And it's so, so important, just like Joey said. Thank you so much. All right, next up, Global Director Annika Relaford.
You guys saw the speakers today. I was texting Emily and behind the scenes, and I'm like, I'm already crying here this morning. And Emily's so right. When we're younger, we have all of these aspirations. Our parents tell us to dream big, that we can be anything that we want to be. And I think over time we lose faith and hope because the world starts knocking us down maybe a little bit, right? And for me, you guys, I was always a big dreamer. My nickname was Midget growing up because I did things early and I did things crazy. Like I was an adult when I was a kid. Like I just was like full bore all the time. But I really am proud of my parents for instilling some really great values into me of hard work ethic and believing that I could be anything that I wanted to be. But you guys, look around us. The world is full of obstacles. And sometimes we just get beat down. And that's where I was at year after year. I kept trying and contending. I never really gave up, but I was exhausted. At 35 years old, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was letting everything else around me get to me constantly. I was so focused on the world around me that I wasn't paying attention to myself. And I think that that's just kind of what happens to us naturally, right? We get out of school and we're like, we have to work hard, we have to provide, we have to do all of these things. And we forget to take care of ourselves. And at 35, I was like the most desperate I had ever been. I was completely overweight. I was overextended. I was exhausted. And I remember reflecting back and going, Mom, Dad, this is what you told me life could be? Like, I thought it was supposed to be rainbows and unicorns and sunshine, right? Like it was all of those things. But I say all this to be because you guys, I thought I had it rough. I thought I had it hard. And life usually has gives us opportunities of perspective. It gives us obstacles. And the hard times that I thought that we were going through at the time, they weren't hard. What really, really hit me was back in 2016 when our son almost died from a really, really rare condition. And it was in that moment that I looked at him and I said, I never knew what hard was. And if I was in his spot, would I have survived? I wasn't taking care of him the way that I wanted to because I wasn't taking care of myself the way I wanted to. I had been working so hard for other people's dreams and being disappointed, right? It was year after year. I kept living like I had tomorrow. Everything was so dang reactive that I didn't know how to goal plan. I didn't know how to dream. I didn't know how to do any of those things. But in that moment, In that moment, I knew that life had to change. Everything that I thought that truly mattered in life seemed to vanish at that time. I really didn't care if I was going to eat or be able to pay the bills or sleep. All I wanted was my son to survive. And that was all that mattered to me. And guys, in the restless nights, perspective started to shift. I started to look at him. I started to look at me. And I said, how am I ever going to be able to take care of him if I don't even know how to take care of myself? And I knew that it was time for different. So when he was healthy enough, I went back to my employer and I said, I'm ready, put me in. I don't care how many hours I need to work. We've got over $1 million in medical bills. We are tanked out. Help me get back to work so that I can be there for my family. Yes, I'm going to be real and honest with you. She looked at me and she goes, well, we only got about 5 hours a week right now to bring you back into the office. It was in this moment, you guys, that I knew I never wanted me or my family to be dependent on somebody else's dreams. I desired more in life and I wanted control over my life. And I never had it working for somebody else. Year after year, I kept living the same life. It's like Groundhog Day. Same finances, same marriage, same weight, same everything. And I was tired of just living in mediocrity, to be honest with you. So you guys, it was in that moment that I told her, no thanks, I quit. I didn't tell Jeremiah. I'll just be real. I basically told him that they didn't have enough hours, which was truth in part, but it was right then, you guys, that my words and my friends since the 5th grade rose into my heart. You should coach. I remember telling me this. He told me this in 2013. And that's when I really started to dream again. I said, if he could do it, why can't I do it? I cared about people. I was in healthcare for 15 years. I had such hard work ethic and discipline. From my parents running their own business, I felt I knew what it took to be successful. But I knew more than anything, you guys, I needed to learn how to take care of myself. And I knew what we did worked. So I jumped in. And on March 17, 2017, I started my first day on program. 3 weeks later, I became a coach and I made the decision that I was going to show others how to live life on their terms, like I was learning to do. I never wanted anybody to tell me that I couldn't take my son across the hill to a doctor's appointment because I didn't have enough PTO, or how or when I was supposed to take a vacation, or any of those things. And I started to realize that if I worked harder, I started to receive more. And so it just became my mission and my purpose to show other people how they could do the same. You guys, I'm going to wrap this up by just saying, for years and years, I was unhappy because I was so focused on what was going on in the world, and I didn't like things where things were really headed. Okay. This showed me how to be in control of my own life. And that's what people are looking for. How to be the dominant force in our own life, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and find success and fulfillment and be able to live life on your terms. The question really arises where Emily says, are we going to allow ourselves to dream and do the work on ourselves? And when we do the work on this ourselves, we have more value to go give everybody else. Emily, back to you, babe.
Thank you, Annika. Good stuff. Even if you've heard Annika's story before, it just always hits me different every time. And all that kept ringing through my head is, we don't have to wait for something so devastating to happen to make this decision, because I don't want this for anybody. I don't want divorce for anyone. I don't want a sick child for anyone. I don't want all of these devastating events to happen to you in order for you to be like, you know what, I got to take this seriously. You guys are, if you haven't experienced that, you're in a really good place. Please don't wait for something like that to happen in order to get your butt into gear, because it just shouldn't take that. It shouldn't take, you hear these stories, you know what the reality is. Don't wait. Don't wait for that. All right, last up, we have Mark Wiley. He is caffeinated and ready to talk to you this morning. Mark.
What is up? I'll tell you, you guys are just awesome. There's a little bit for everybody here, right? There's so much. My story, very honestly, is very different, right? So I'm the weight loss story in this house, right? So, you know, in 2014, a week before Christmas, I went on program, and 4.5 months later, I lost 75 pounds. But I was a selfish, self-centered man who made a ton of money and did it all for himself. And that's the truth, right? So I'm an ex-NCAA athlete. I was a 38-year-old vice president of a Fortune 200. And I'll be very honest with you guys. I have never, since I was 22, not maxed out my Social Security investment. That's just my story. It was all about money. And it almost cost me my marriage, right? In 2019, my wife sends me a text message saying, I'm no longer in love with you. That's the truth. That's what happened, right? My children called me a workaholic. That's the truth. That's what happened. I did 50 to 70,000 miles a year in an airplane, and I loved every second of it. When I went to an airport, I wore a suit, leather-soled shoes. I wore a very nice watch and cufflinks because I wanted you to know that I was freaking important. And that's exactly the way it rolled, right? I cared more about me than I cared about my own children, and I did not know it yet. And, you know, here's the bottom line, guys. God does for us what we can't or won't do for ourselves. And that's my story. That's what happened, right? It took my wife saying, I'm just not into you anymore, for me to have a midlife awakening. And still my story isn't, I rolled over, called Jamil and said, hey, put me in, coach. I want to be a health and wellness coach. That's still not what happened. That's still not my story, right? What happened after that was I quit a job. That's what I did. In February 24th, 2019, I said, I'm out, right? And I quit a job and I took 6 months off and I stayed home. And in that process, what I did was I spent a whole lot of Mark time, right? A whole lot of God time and a whole lot of family time. And then in August, Sheris comes to me and says, I want to become a health and wellness coach. And I said, okay, we're going to sell our house. 100%, whatever you want, I will do. And we sold our home to invest in her. And then I went back to work, and I went back to work for the sole purpose of financially funding my wife's venture and giving her the peace and security of having a healthcare plan. And I wanted her to do all of this, you know, completely with peace of mind. That, you know, and that's why I went back to work. Talk about a shift, right? So again, God, that was not Mark, right? That was my higher power. That was God. That was an insertion of something into my life. Now I was going back into a corporate career, not for Mark, not for the nice watch, not to be seen. I was doing it to give my wife peace of mind. I was doing it to provide a lifestyle for my children. My life had just pivoted and shifted, right? Now I started living a life of service. That's when my life of service started. It was August 2nd, 2019. Right. And then the next year or so, it stayed there. Right. I just stayed with my wife. Then COVID-19 hit. Right. So let's back up. My youngest son, right, Kelly, 12 years old, when he was born, he was put in the NIC unit for a week and a half. Right. Everything was good, but he was there. I went to work the next day after he was put into the NICU unit. I don't know what it's like to be home with my children. And COVID-19, and I preface this, people died and we lost family. But I'll tell you, COVID-19 absolutely, it was the biggest gift that could have ever happened for me. I started having a baseball catch with my sons at lunch for the first time on a Tuesday. And holy cow, did I get addicted to it. And then, you know, we had the opportunity because of COVID-19 to go to Montana, Lolo, Montana. It's where a river runs through it. The author of A River Runs Through It. It's where he grew up. It's where he was. And it's been a lifelong dream of mine to go there, right? And we went. And I'm going to bring you into a very brief story. It's my moment. It's why I'm a coach today. I'm coming up to 15. We are somewhere in between Utah, Idaho, and Montana on the 15, and we're coming through a gorge. And I'm sitting there, and in my head, I'm thinking about the Airbnb. I'm in the Airbnb. I'm fantasizing about the Airbnb, and then Tim McGraw comes across on the radio, and I'm listening to this song, and I look in the back seat, and my 3 sons are asleep in the back seat with their chocolate lab across their lap. I look to my wife, and my wife is pivoted up against the window asleep, and this music's playing, and I'm in this gorge in this mountain, and I realize I'm already at the destination. The journey is the destination. It's it. There is nothing I'm going to have in Montana that is any less beautiful than this. Right here, right now. And then I started realizing that the beauty of life is now. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. Time does not exist. Now only exists. It was inevitable. May 19th, I woke up. Shara and I went for a walk, and I told Shara, put me in, coach. I quit. And May 19th, 4 months. And by the way, it didn't happen overnight then, but it started. And the reason I'm doing this is I think it's pretty clear. I think I just explained it all to you. I'm doing it because I no longer live and drive because of me, period. I do it because I want to be with my wife and I want to be with my children. I want to be the best version of myself I can be for them. And I do it because I know that my story is going to impact and change someone. So that's all I got for y'all. You're all rock stars. Love y'all.
That's it. God, Mark, you're really leaving us just wanting more. Thank you so much. This is exactly what I was dreaming of when I thought of, you know, what I wanted to give everyone this morning. This is exactly it. You know, it's not the reason why you became a coach, it's the why. And those are 2 very, very different things. And once you realize that, then you can really start to get in there. So we might go like 5 minutes over. We might not, but we just hang in there. So I want to really just establish some expectations for you guys. You know, if you came into this today not having a clear why, please don't freak out that you still don't have it figured out right now. It takes most people time to really come up with a true and compelling why. It's not like looking for your lost keys, you know, it's a process. And, you know, I truly believe that everyone has a why, and it's really hidden in your patterns of your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors and your habits. I think the reality is most people who don't know their why haven't really put in the effort to really pay attention to their thoughts and patterns. So I'm going to actually play you guys a really great little quick video. And so let me share screen and listen to this.
When you wake up every morning, what drives you? If you want to live a life of success, a life of complete success, happiness and fulfillment, you must find your purpose. You see, if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know what drives you, what inspires you, then you have no reason to improve your life. How can you improve your life if you have no reason to improve it? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? What's the reason? Why do you exist? Do you know what it takes to be great? Are you willing to go the extra mile? I tell you time and time again, you will get tired. But if you have a why, we'll give you that extra strength, that extra foot you need, that extra hour you need, the courage. Why are you different from everyone else who's trying to do the same thing you're doing? What makes you stand out? Why are you so important?
Let's talk about your pits. Most antiperspirants have ingredients you can't even pronounce.
Your why will pull you up when you feel like you don't have the strength to get up anymore. Your why will keep you fighting when everyone else thinks you are out for the count. What are you fighting for? What drives you? Is your purpose your family? Is it to prove the doubt you wrong? Is it to prove yourself right? What is your purpose? Write down your purpose. Carry it with you everywhere. Feel it deep. Promise yourself every day you will live your purpose. Zero excuses. Somebody's waiting for you to mess up. Somebody's waiting for you to give up. Someone is waiting for you to fall. So when you're challenged by life, what are you going to do? When you feel like you're at your lowest point in life, will you go in time? Or will you make the move? Don't look back. Just remember where you came from. And let that drive push you to go forward. It's not always going to be an easy road. And when you reach success, you won't take it for granted. You cherish those moments you had to go through. Those moments you were without. And when you fall down, get back up. Dust yourself off. Something that drives you, something that no matter what happens, this part of you does not change. This drive in you does not change. This purpose never dies. No matter how many times life knocks you down, your purpose pulls you up every time. This is the reason I will fight for my dreams. This is the reason I will not take no for an answer. When it hurts, keep going. Those cloudy days, those storms, telling you to keep going. Those times in your life when you can't see how you're gonna make it. Some things you can't change. You just have to live with it. But if you do have a choice, make the right choice. Your purpose is that one thing that lights you up. It's the one thing that will get you up early. That one thing. When you're doing it, time stops. Your purpose may be something you don't want. It may be seeing someone in your past and thinking, no matter what, I will ensure I never end up like that. Your purpose is always something that lights a fire in you. I will do this no matter what. My family is counting on me. My friends are counting on me. I am counting on me.
Okay. So with that, we're going to take 3 minutes again. And this time, it may not be your full on exact perfect why, but at least we're going to have some bullet points. All right. So let's do this again. 3 minutes starting now. Halfway there, about a minute and 20 seconds left. All right, 10 seconds to wrap up. And time. All right, so I am going to wrap up with this. And remember, you guys, this is a process. So these are questions we want to continually ask ourselves over time, just to kind of get your subconscious mind to reveal more about your why. So asking yourself things like, what gets me so excited that I can't stop thinking about it? Is there a problem or challenge that emotionally moves me so much to take action? What does a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction mean to me? What feeling is rewarding to me? What will drive my curiosity to always learn more? And I mean, to me, it's like, what's something or someone that come hell or high water, I'm going to fight for without question. So in closing, I just want to say that, again, your why will be ever evolving, but if you don't put in the time to figure it out and figure out what's going to push and drive you, it's going to be really, really tough to do the hard work every single day to meet these big goals and dreams that we now have. So give your why the justice that it deserves and keep working on this. You know, obviously it'd be really cool to have time to share, but that's what you have mentorship for. So feel free to shoot your why over to your mentor, have it be something you work on when you meet with them. I hope that this hour was really helpful for you guys. Thank you so much to our speakers for making this the most amazing morning. And yeah, go get it, guys. Thank you so much for being here.